welcome to Command Dads for deck building and tips and tricks. I'm Cortland Coomer.
I'm Isaiah Walsh.
I'm Anthony Bergeron.
And we are Command Dads. This is the first podcast, guys. Cheers. Let's crest in this moment. There you go. Parental advisory, consumption of alcohol.
Roll
Maybe not a swear word. Anyways. Again, so we're going to be talking about deck building tips and tricks. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our own decks here that we've brought for this episode. And we're going to talk about how we've applied those tips and tricks and kind of guide you through our thought process on how we build a deck. I know a lot of us are veterans. A lot of us have that experience of building tons of decks and really putting a lot of synergistic pieces together, having a lot of fun. But so some of us who don't have that experience and want those tips and tricks, so this is what this is here for. And who knows, maybe you hear something that you really like, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. We can do a lot more of these. So we're going to continue forward. Anthony, what deck have you brought today?
I brought Animar Soul of Elements. It's a creature-oriented stompy deck.
Nice. Got that stomp factor. Okay. So which way did you lean towards building Animar?
Just pretty hard into Animar itself. Whenever you cast a creature, it gets a +1/+1 counter. It makes your cheapest creature with each counter. So most of the deck is creatures. A lot of the creatures have quite a lot of value, like getting lands, letting you draw cards, letting you play extra cards. There's a lot of stuff like that. There's lots of value, lots of threats.
So I'm assuming you're focusing on commander damage, or is there other Wincons you got?
Aside from commander damage, I have 3 other Wincons.
Nice.
Nice. So you have your first, your backup, and then a backup? That's sick.
Got plans A through D in here.
Awesome. Alright, now, quick question now. Why do you have so many plans in your deck, like so many Wincons, rather than just having like 2 or so? Like, why do you have like 4?
4, mostly because a lot of people don't like this commander and try to get it out of here as quickly as possible. So having 3 others in the deck really helps with being able to fish those Wincons out, even if one fails. Especially in multiplayer, a lot of people play blue, a lot of people have counters, so it's really easy to have 2, maybe even 3 Wincons fail.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
having at least 4 in this deck particularly increases my odds.
Well, for sure, because you don't want to put all your eggs into one basket, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's sick.
you always got prepared for counters and removal as well. So you throw. I'm assuming you threw a couple stuff in there as well
Well,
to help respond to responses or have responses.
A few. There's not too many, but there are a few. It's mostly just trying to get as much into play as possible, so even if 1 or 2 things are countered, I should still be able to sneak through 3 or 4 things.
nice. Okay. So what are the Wincons for Animar that you put in the deck?
Aside from Animar, because again it's creature oriented, so there should be a lot of creatures in there. I've got Triumph of the Hordes for Infect.
Nice.
I've got Dual Caster Mage and Heat Shimmer for infinite tokens. Have Kiki Jiki comboed with Freed from the Real and Peregrine Drake for another win line for infinite tokens. And let's see, I think that was probably it, aside from the commander. Yeah, those were the 3 win lines in the deck, and then the commander is the 4th.
Nice. And what would your main win line be when you were focusing on your building?
The main win line when focused on building was getting things for Animar. So I got a lot of cheap creatures in here to buff him up as quickly as possible. So having that was my main thought when I'm building the deck. And Triumph of the Hordes is just complementary to that as well.
Oh yeah, that's a game-ending card.
Oh yeah.
For those who don't know, Infect wins games. Who knew?
10. In fact, you're dead.
Yeah, Isaiah is known to drink from the pools of Phyrexia.
Oh yeah. Finn the Fangbearer. Nice.
Yeah. That's sick. So, what was your main thought when you're building Animar when you looked at him as a commander? Like, how did you think how you wanted to build him?
Well, definitely wanted to get as many creatures in play as possible, and definitely makes it easier to play really big creatures like the Eldrazi Titans.
Oh yeah.
Cheapens them up really well. Goes really well with artifact creatures as well. So Steel Hellkite, definitely a clear-cut winner. Wormcoil Engine, definitely something that needs to be put in there. Duplicant is another form of removal, and it's an artifact, so you can play that for free if you get 6 counters on Animar.
Oh, for sure, that's sick. Yeah, the value's great.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well,
Any questions for Anthony about his deck and why he built it a certain way?
yeah, you have a lot of high cost creatures in there, right?
Oh, fair amount, yeah.
Yeah, you put them in there because it's lowering the cost with your commander.
Yeah.
But when you're first drawing your hand, what are you looking for roughly in your hand in the beginning?
In the beginning, roughly I'm looking for 2 or 3 lands, maybe a mana rock or 2 if I'm lucky, and some cheap creatures, maybe Cultivate or Harrow or even Llanowar Elves or something. That's what I'd want in my opening hand.
That's cool. And how many lands roughly do you put in your deck?
This one has 30.
And it's a 3-color deck, right?
Yeah.
Turmeric?
Yep.
How many basics roughly do you have?
I run 9 basics. I've got several cards in the deck that only fish out basics, so having 9 seems like a good number for that.
Well, especially all the fetches, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any special lands that do other effects, like a +1/+1 counter on target creature, or scry one, example, kind of that kind of stuff?
Temple of Mystery is the only one I have in here that scries. Got Field of the Dead to make tokens. You have my Cradle of Growth to turn all my lands into forests, which pairs well with Nissa and Woodland Guidance. Also lets me tap for any color to play Survival of the Fittest and fetch out whatever creature I want out of the deck.
Alright.
And this is kind of cool too, because I like Animar in the sense of cheating your costs for your bigger stuff. Because a big thing in deck building is your overall CMC of your deck, your mana curve when it comes to how things cost from 0 to 1, 2, 3, up going all the way up. You mainly want a lot of stuff in between let's say 0 to 4 mainly is where everything sits. More 0 to 3 now with how fast the format's gotten. With all the mana rocks that are 2, 2, 1, 0. A lot of the spells, your ramp spells, are 1 or 2. Majority of your deck is going to be sitting around 2 cost. So you're looking at your rocks, your ramp spells.
Yeah, a lot of them are sitting. This deck, a lot of them are probably 2 and 3 drops, or the majority of ramp spells and mana rocks.
Yeah, because it's cool, because usually you would say for your CMC you'd want all your stuff to be on the lower end so you can cast more things.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have something like Animar that negates that a bit, it opens up so much more to leave way for those big drops. I see you have a Vornclex in there. That is sick.
Yeah.
That is sickening, my friend, and I love it.
Yeah, it's another mana doubler. It's just a great card overall.
Oh, it's huge, especially when everyone's lands are already tapped.
Yeah.
And how is this gonna go?
Now, another question is, you have a lot of multi-lands, and I know there's a cheaper versions for multi-lands. How expensive is this deck, roughly?
This one right now is sitting just over $2,000.
And I'm assuming
what I got here exactly.
I'm assuming there's a way to budgetize that. There's a lot of lands that can come in tapped, you don't have to pay a bunch of money for it, but you still get the same thing. Same thing with creatures, there's other creatures that do separate things, but they just have more conditions to it. So, the question is there a way to budgetize this deck?
Probably, yeah. You could definitely get cheaper versions of some of these cards. Aside from the Eldrazi Titans, because all of those are pretty pricey by themselves.
Yeah.
Phyrexian Triniform, it's a 9 mana creature. It's a 9/9, and when it dies, it makes 3/3 tokens. This card is maybe $10. So you can find a lot of cards like that to fill this deck out with in place of Eldrazi Titans and the high cost stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of options out there to build an Animar deck on a budget.
That's good.
Yeah. You can also build Animar with Morph, which is cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you can morph for free essentially.
I haven't
Still
seen,
get counters, I think.
I have not seen a morph deck throughout my 2 years of playing Commander.
Yeah, I've seen an Animar morph deck once, and that thing was tight. that thing was just moving because he had so many draws, like things that come off a creature coming into play, drawing other stuff. It was nuts.
And if you like the decks that you were talking about or see, there is Moxfield. You can check it out. You could fix it your own. Comment down below what you think would be better in the deck, and we'll respond as quick as possible. But if you want to check them out, check it out on Moxfield. Links will be in the description.
Yeah, that has all of our deck lists up on Moxfield there. Sorry for the tongue twist. As well as if you want to go on altar sleeves, if you see different cards on our show and when we're playing, we have altar sleeves on our cards. They're amazing. They really bling up your deck. Sometimes you don't want to pay an extra $20 for a foil. You just want something different for your deck. Altar Sleeves has a great selection of things. You go on there and look at all that stuff. Use our code CommandDads. Get 5% off your entire order. And also supports the channel. So thank you very much if you do that. So any other things you want to add about like tips for your deck building and stuff like that?
Tips and tricks?
A couple things. First, these colors don't have a lot in the way of removal aside from burn, so you definitely want to plan around that with other cards, like, again, creature oriented, so I focused on creatures that allow me to remove things or control a bit of the game, and those have a lot of usable value, with green having a lot of graveyard recursion. That's pretty much it. You just want to plan around that and lack of tutors, so green and blue, card draw is your friend.
Well, again, you don't really need much tutors. You do and you don't. Tutors are nice to have in your deck, so when you can search for your Wincon, but if you can't like factor it in or budget it in, then sometimes the draw is the best. You kind of try to sift through your deck to get to where you need to be.
Well, like, because like he's saying, right, like tutors is like predominantly black,
Yeah.
right? So like, you know, that's your main color for a tutor. So there are some good tutors in red and in blue and in green. Like like Worldly Tutor, Sylvan Tutor,
Gamble, solve the equation.
Mystical Tutor. The thing though too with a lot of like blue tutors, it's very very specific, like an artifact or a spell. He's more creature based. That's why you're not really seeing that, right? Because
well, green also has some stuff that like searches for creatures as well, which really helps.
yeah, like Finale of Devastation, Green Sun Zenith, Eldritch Evolution, Court of Calling. That's another one.
There's a fair bit of cards you could use to tutor, but you know.
But like that's the thing, right? Like, and that's the thing too. Like, when you're building a deck, you want to know what is your experience like. What kind of experience do you like in general, right? Like, and also how consistent do you want your deck to be? So like, if you fill your deck with me being an idiot, I have 11 tutors or ways to tutor in my deck that I'm going to be telling about. This deck that I have, compared to Anthony's, it's a very specific win lines, so you really need to sequence things very well in order to pull it off. Otherwise, it's an upside down birthday cake with a bunch of good stuff. So like, you know, that's sick. I like the way you built it. Venser was one of my favorite cards.
And we played against it already.
Yeah.
It was pretty nasty. Sometimes I was a little afraid of his board state sometimes.
But yeah, no, Venser's good because you can return that spell on the stack. So that's sick. Awesome. Thank you for those tips and tricks, Anthony.
No problem.
I'm going to shift it on over to our buddy Isaiah here, Command Dad. What deck did you bring today to talk about deck building tips and tricks?
I got Kirk the Thumbless and Sakashima of 1,000 Faces. So, copies, flipping coins, gamble, pretty much.
Yeah. He has a problem. We're booking him into AA. And sorry, GA. We're still on the fence about AA. We'll see what happens.
My first thoughts about building this deck was like, how can I break it? I've talked to these guys about it a few times and they help me. And again, when I build decks, I look towards synergy as well. But I don't 100% know all the cards. I'm just freshly new playing Commander and Magic. So these guys have helped me, and another person that's helped me, his name's Steve. He's been helping me too. So I pitch an idea, they go, that's a bad idea, or that's a good idea, but I kind of just built it together, thinking, okay, instants and sorceries, probably best bet. I need defenders, stuff that go around instants and sorceries as well. Trying to think of like the Wincons you need. What kind of Wincons can I get? Do I have all the dual lands? I have none of the dual lands. None of them. I have Command Tower and Scheduled Courtyard.
Yeah, Fable Passage, which is good.
Fable Passage is good to fetch for a bit for basic land, so it comes in untapped, which is nice.
Yeah.
But again, like I don't have much of a budget towards decks, so it's usually what I have and what I can get. So my deck is more budgetized between everyone else's, so you know, it could be competitive, it could not be competitive, depends on what's in my hand.
But Gurkha Sakashima is a pretty strong combo, like, build within itself. I shouldn't say combo, but it's a very strong deck, like, within itself.
Yeah, as long as you build it kind of right.
Kinda right.
Kinda right.
It's kind of got the stuff in it. But you know, like, no, there's a good pieces. You have a lot of the pieces, you know, and it's a strong deck still. Like, lands can always be upgraded over time, and that's the thing too, right? People have amazing decks. People can build amazing things, but a lot of it takes time. Like, you're not gonna have an instant collection overnight.
When I first built this, I had 27 lands in it, and I was like, "Oh, that's enough. It's totally fine." And then I'm playing it, and I'm like, "That's not enough lands. I'm not getting one I need. I need an island. I got mountains. I need an island. I got mountains. I need a mountain. I got islands. What the fuck?" So I switched some cards out, put some more lands. I think the minimum should be at least like 30, 32 in Commander, so that at least you can say. But everyone has it differently.
It all depends on what your commander says and does.
Yeah.
And the type of advantage of it is. If it's something like Sylvala, Heart of the Wilds, you don't really need a crap ton more ramp than what she offers. But you can still get up the dorks and everything else to make sure she comes out on turn 2. You know, or even sometimes turn 1 with good fun stuff. You know, oh, Mana Crypt, you know, one land, Jeweled Lotus. There's a few good fun things out there, but yeah. So, you know, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you need to look at the commander of what deck you're building at, because that's going to tell you a lot of its advantages. A lot of things you're going to want to put in the 99 that's going to help, like, fine-tune your deck and what you want to be doing with that. So, take us away, man. Like, what was your thought building this deck? What was your end, beginning with the end in mind? What was your win con?
Well, my first thought was, how much of an asshole can I be? So I threw some stuff in there being like, no, I'm going to take that away, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then I was like, okay, what kind of win con do I got? And it's like, okay, so I got Dualcaster Mage and Twin Flame. Okay?
Yeah.
Trying to do that. And then I got Grape Shot, which is revolving around Storm, but I got Grape Shot and Bridge God of something.
Bergie?
Yeah, Bergie God of, I can't remember.
Storytelling?
Yeah. And then Grinny Ingus, which what he does is he's a red and 2, and you play him. And he adds a red and 2 colorless to your mana pool. Tap 1 red and return it back to your hand. So you get an infinite storm count, and you play Grape Shot, which deals 1 damage to any target. So you get infinite storm count, Grape Shot, destroy. And again with the storm count, I got Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, and Galvant Relay, which makes me exile my entire library in winning the game. That's the only 3 win cons that I have. So I got my win con, a backup, and sort of a backup. But again, I'm relying on Storm, so I got some counters to try and help me.
And this is cool too, because you're playing blue, red, green, you're playing just blue, red.
Yeah.
So when comparing the decks to each other, green's the ramp color for sure, hands down. No one's ever going to argue it, if they do. But, you know, looking at the decks like side by side almost, what do you see that like when it comes to ramp? Like, what are you trying to do for ramp in your deck?
Side by side, green has a lot more ramp than I do. I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, only 8 cards for ramp, and I got other things that can help me too, like Talisman of Creativity or Immersion Zone. But Immersion Zone is more of a land. Arcane Signet, Soul Ring, pretty much the staples. You do the list. I don't have much for that helps me with mana. But comparing it, like green has a lot more for sure.
But yeah, so like, how do you supplement that with your build? Like, when it comes to ramp? Like what? So you have like these cards here, right?
I got right. No, you got Rite of Flames. Rite of Flames is a sorcery, so I can cast it and copy it twice with Sacrifice with Thousand Faces and Kirk the Thumbless. And Rite of Flames it only adds 2 to my mana pool, and adds 1 for each Rite of Flames in my graveyard. But that doesn't matter because I only have 1.
Yeah.
So I can copy it 2 more times. So having 3 technical copies and netting 6 mana. And I think the last game we played, I did Desperate Ritual, which adds 3, and I copied it twice, netting 6 mana. 6 red mana, which helps. I got Jessica's Will, which I can copy that too, if depending on flips and rolls, which I can choose to add mana to my hand and exile cards so I can play them, which also helps.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. I got Stormkin Artist, which also creates treasure tokens as I play instants or copy instants and sorceries, which is nice.
Which is good because when you create that copy, you want a treasure for it.
Oh yeah.
So it's huge.
It's huge. It can go off pretty quick, but again, it relies on rolls. It's a gamble deck. Yes, I'm gonna do it, and I rolled Snake Eyes, motherfucker.
But yeah, look at the other synergy cards you have in there, though. The Harmonic Prodigy.
Oh, Harmonic Prodigy is big in this deck. If I have Sakashima and Kirk the Thumbless, that is 4 copies I could make, and that could go off, like, good.
Yeah, that's 4 triggers, right? So, we talked about your Wincon with the deck, with Kark Sakashima. We talked about, ways you're ramping, trying to get ahead and get that advantage. Now, with Kark Sakashima, you have your cantrips, you have also disruption, stuff like that with the colors. So, how much interaction are you running?
Well, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I have 14 interactions, like removal and counters, of course. And I don't have many of the high expensive counters, like the 0 drops. I don't have any of those. So I'm trying to go for, technically I have to deflecting swap, but I need my commander out in order to deal with it.
Yeah, and that's pretty good, though. And you also have the ways like the bounce things as well, I see. Not just counters, but bouncing and changing targets. So you have kind of like a different, widespread of stuff that you're kind of looking at stopping.
Yeah.
So...
And of course, I got it in the deck and I don't draw it.
Hey, it's all good. We all have those times. I wanted a Supreme Verdict for one game, never got her. That silver bullet.
What's the value on your deck?
Oh, like $400 or $500.
$400 or $500.
Yeah.
That's actually not too bad for a commander deck.
No, it's pretty decent.
Yeah.
And that's not including the lands and or the commanders. So it's just cards. Out of the 99, it's just cards that you need.
That question's gonna scare me later.
Yeah, it is. But this is my fourth or fifth deck that I have built, and I don't think it's that good. But I guess these 2 guys are just like, no, it's a bit of a threat.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially because Kark is only a 2 drop to come out. So you can get that easy out as turn 1. Even with your deck, the way you have it set up, you can easily get it out turn 1 with a few cards there. You can get out turn 2 reliably, and then Sakashima comes out and the fun begins.
Yep.
Now, I've seen a lot of people also build Kark Sakashima with a lot of the clone stuff you can do, which is really cool. Like Clever Impersonator, Phantasmal Image. You have Spark Double. You have a couple of those things in here to kind of copy Sakashima and get, inevitably, it doesn't matter what you cast, it's going to copy and go back to your hand.
Well, the only thing I don't really have in here is a board wipe, really.
Well, that's because you want your board intact, though.
Yeah.
Right?
I do and I don't. Because sometimes, even when we were playing our games before, sometimes it's like I got little to no board, but everyone else has a bigger board. And I'm like, okay, well, if I had a board wipe, this would be great right now. Because technically, the only things I had out was Kirk the Thumbless and Sakashima with 1,000 Faces. I technically could have recast them.
There's a couple of pretty affordable options for board wipes in red, particularly.
Oh, for red, yeah. But here's the thing, though, too. With Kirk Sakashima built a certain way, you can use your bounce spells as removal for people's stuff. So, for example, Unsummon you have for 1 drop that removes all creatures on board if you have enough triggers with Sakashima and Kark. you can get all those triggers in Disney World. You can have, because we've seen it where he's flipped 3-4 coins and he's also having the opposite where we all go, oh shit.
Again, it's all about luck.
Yeah, this is a gambling deck, but your bounce spells can turn into wipes if you have enough things on board, triggering getting enough of those triggers on stack.
Even counter spells could be deadly too, right? Because if for example, I cast a dispel on one of your counter spells, if I flip and I win, I got 2 copies already. I flip and I win, I got 3 copies of dispel.
Yeah, ideally you want to win 1, lose 1.
Yeah, so ideally, because then you return it back to your hand and you can recast it.
Yeah. It's never going to always happen, but ideally you want to at least win 1, lose 1, and copying that trigger or that effect will pretty much mean you're always going to have that. If you do it a few times, so you'll get the odd times you go, hey, luck fucked me. Don't worry, it happens to all.
That's what a gamble deck is all about.
Yeah. That's cool. Frantic Search untaps lands, lets you dig deeper.
Yeah.
Rewind your 4 mana. Counterspell lets you untap 4 lands.
Oh, I've casted Rewind a few times and just untap all my lands. I can just redo it.
When we were playtesting, he copied Rewind 4 times, untapping all of his lands.
And rinse and repeat every turn.
Yeah, it was beautifully broken. Let's put it that way.
I have Harmonic Prodigy in there too, which doubles the triggers, which is nasty.
Yeah. What you're also wanting is Krark's Thumb. You're wanting all those other cloning effects to get more copies of Sakashima to imprint.
When I was building this deck, I was also thinking okay, what are ways that I can copy the spell even without Kirk and Shakashima 1,000 Faces, right? So things that I can use. So Murloc as its Progron, I forget how to say his name, but anyways, I play with the top card in the library revealed. If it's instant sorcery, I can cast it and I get to copy it. Okay, and I get to cast it. I already have 1 copy of it. So, and if I copy it again 2 more times, I got 4 copies. Technically 3 copies and the card. So I got 4 different things depending on what's on top of my library. So it can be pretty deadly. Like I got Twinning Staff. Whenever I copy spell, copy it 1 more time, which can be nasty, right? So when I was building this deck, I was like, what can I throw in here that can help me copy cards? I even thought about Storm in here too, because Storm it technically can copy it as well.
Oh, for sure. And again, also Storm card, we all know of his Brain Freeze.
Oh yeah.
And that can, if you have infinite copies of that through flip triggers, you can mill everybody out. But no, that's awesome.
Corlin, tell us about your deck. What made you think about building this awesome deck?
What made me think about building Tevet Seller of Secrets?
This bullshit.
This pile of shit, 3-color shit in front of me. Okay, so Tevet Seller of Secrets is a flying ward 3 Sphinx rogue. Whenever he ETBs or deals combat damage, he has Counselor's Dilemma, which you get to vote twice. And everyone else on the table votes once for either bribery or investigate. So bribery, bribery vote, you get a treasure, investigate, you get a clue. So you get 5 artifacts off of each trigger. So that's pretty sick. When I was looking at this deck, and this is what I think when it comes to deck building, like, I don't know like for you guys, but when I look at a deck and I see that one commander I get excited about, I'm like, how do I win with that? Like, I get excited about a lot of new cards that come out. Like looking at even the new Dominaria spoilers, the new Sheoldred, where every time you draw a card, you gain a life. Every time your opponents draw a card, they lose 2 life.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I could be wrong about that. It could be the other way flipped. I'm just mentioning that out. Like, there's cards that I get excited about. And I go, what's the win con with that? How do I bring it home? If I'm thinking of it as 4 people playing a game, imagine there's boats all out in the water and a starting line and the land is home, like the win con, the end. How am I getting from there to here? That's what I'm always thinking about, kind of starting with the end in mind. So, looking at Tevet Seller of Secrets, he's the 3-color card. So you have Esper, black, blue, white. So obviously, like with lands, I run 30 lands in my deck. Because it's a 3-color combination, a lot of my lands are duals, or even the new Triome or Fiend's Tower from New Capenna. A lot of the lands are tailored to having anything available that I need to at that time. Also, a lot of the rainbow lands, essentially like Mana Confluence, Reflecting Pool, City of Brass.
I just love how you say rainbow lands.
Because they can go for any one, right? Like,
well, any of the 3 or any color?
Any color.
Okay,
so even
so
if
like
I steal
Manta.
something, I might be able to cast it, and you never know. But Forbidden Orchard, stuff like that. So that's when it comes to lands. So I think about having something that gives me all access. A lot of my lands produce blue, because I rely heavily on interaction in this deck, the way I built it. Mana Rocks, I have 14 in this deck. Feels greedy, but there's a reason why. I like playing very fast games. I like playing very fast decks in general. This deck can go for a grind value town kind of beatdown. It can do that. So you can play games that are sometimes slower. But I like starting off fast and first to the punch as fast as I can. So you'll find like a lot of my decks are very much low CMC on the spectrum when it comes to your stuff.
Oh, and trust me, it's hard to play against sometimes. Even if you throw a crap ton of counters in and you're like, I'm going to counter it, and he goes, okay, it resolves, but I'm going to go do my other Wincon that I have.
Yeah, so like when I first saw Tevet, I looked at a few Wincons that I saw that I was like, these are 2 very powerful Wincons within themselves. The first main combo you're going for is the Time Sieve combo. So when I was thinking, and start off, who's my commander, and what am I wanting to do with it, what's the goal in mind, I saw Time Sieve, and it's a 2-card combo. So Time Sieve says, tap it, I believe it's a tap ability. Yeah, tap ability, sacrifice 5 artifacts, take an extra turn. So when you immediately play Tevet onto the battlefield, and you have Time Sieve on the field when he ETTBs, you can take the treasure and clues that you get, sack them, immediately activating Time Sieve, and going for infinite turns right then and there. And this deck runs 11 tutors.
Oh, 11 tutors. Jesus.
11 tutors. And the only reason why there's so many ways to tutor is because not only am I going for a Time Sieve kind of combo, but there's also, hate it, Demonic Consultation with Thassa's Oracle. Sometimes if I have one, I want to search for the instant, so I can go do that through the blue fetches that I have. I'm looking for the artifact, Fabricate, Tezzeret the Seeker, can find those, as well as Enlightened Tutor and all the other black tutors I have. So for those 2 main combos I have for the deck, that's what the focus was built around, mainly Time Sieve, because that's just amazing. And also looking at step 3 and 4 of the deck, if those 2 things get knocked off through people milling your deck and exiling your graveyard, it happens. Ashiok, it's a thing. Having a couple extra things to go off is good. Deadeye Navigator, when you put that onto the field with Tevet and soul bond it to it, you only have to pay 2 mana to exile and flip it, essentially to bring it back in ETB again, Counselor's Dilemma. And if you're choosing 2 treasure every time for yourself, you're going to get infinite clues off of that. And eventually it's going to have so much draw that everyone's just going to say, screw this, it's over.
Yeah, you're going to be getting, what, guaranteed 3 like artifacts off of that.
Every time.
How much you got for responses, like removal, counters, and things that you can deal with?
So I have 22 total interactive pieces in this deck.
Oh.
Main reason why there's so many is because the way I like to play, I like to respond to what people are doing. I like being the interactive piece in a game where someone's trying to go off and I can go, no. Or I try and solve like one creature or something. For example, like I have let's see, I have 6 single target removals, 2 wipes, and 14 counter spells that I run with this deck. So, like, Supreme Verdict, the reason why I run that is because it can't be countered, destroy all creatures. Especially, like, in our meta that we usually play as a play group, we're usually more leaning towards the competitive-ish side, where we're trying to go for the win quick and trying to disrupt, trying to do crazy things. Like you said, we're disciples of the degenerate.
The degenerate, yeah.
You see a lot of degenerate bullshit at our games. That's very disgusting, but it's funny. So we all play. That's how like we agreed that anyway that we feel that we want to play, it's okay for us. It's fine. You're building a land destruction deck. I love that. I'm not looking forward to playing it, but I love it.
You see the card, you go, I hate it, but I fucking love it.
So, like, yeah, you have to respect people's ways of playing, as though sometimes it may suck for you, the odd time. It will. Especially playing against Isaiah's deck the one day. That was very brutal.
We had to leave. We ran out of time.
We ran out of time, but man, that was such a brutal game. In a good way. So, like, other ways with Tevet as like a backups you can win with, a Deadeye Navigator and Altar of the Brood. It's a 1-drop artifact. This is whenever a permanent enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent puts a top card of his or her library into his or her graveyard. So with making all those artifacts, getting that ETB with Deadeye Navigator, you just mill everybody out. Carclane Ironworks is a good support in the deck. And that's, I think, what you want to is a lot of supports with your deck. Not just only when it comes to, like, your ramp, your land, your interaction, your tutors for consistency. You could always take out, for example, I have 11 tutors. I could easily chop 3 or 4. With all my counters having 14, I could easily remove 4. Have more stuff for other ways of making the deck, quote, sing.
Sing.
Yes, sing.
I'm at
you
6.
want an enablers for your deck. You want stuff to flow. You want a focused drive, and things are gonna pump the gas to get you there, right?
I'm at 6 life. Let me combo off and win the game.
For like, yeah, that happened.
Let me kill him, please.
Ristic Study, Esper Sentinel, Narset Part of Veils, Mystic Remora, Smothering Tithe, Grim Hireling, Sensei's Divining Top, even a Windfall, Academy Manufacturer. Stuff that just pushes you in a general direction of what your deck is doing. It just pushes you closer to that goal. Even with like Flickering Tevet, we're making ETB. Eldrazi Displacer and Carclane Ironworks is its own combo because you need only colorless for Eldrazi Displacer. And giving that 5 treasure and just going, yet again, gives you everything you need. If you have Academy Manufacturer, that's game. Especially when it comes to that. Laboratory Maniac, we all know and love the Maniac. Sometimes he's better than Jace, arguably, because a lot of counterspells revolve around non-creature spell.
Yep.
So sometimes he's good depending on your meta. But I have things like Temporal Circle, Fastest Deep Dwelling, Displacer Kitten, Venser, Eldrazi, and Deadeye. So that's 1, 2, 3. That's 6 things that flicker him consistently each turn.
Anthony,
that I have it in the deck.
Anthony, do you have any questions for Portland?
Not really, to be honest. I mean, seems to have covered pretty much everything.
How much is your
Yeah.
How much is your deck?
Yeah. What's the value of this?
Don't tell my wife.
No. She doesn't watch these. No.
Don't tell my wife. I want to live. We also have a Yawgmoth School in here too, just for that fun. Which is, I don't know what the ballpark is, and I'm sorry, honey.
I'm sorry. If you're watching this, I am sorry.
If I get papers in the mail from a lawyer, this is why. No, I'm kidding. So, because I know like certain cards in here are worth a lot, and here's the thing too. I find like the way I build decks is I have one copy of each card. That's it. And I have them sleeved all in the same color, gold. I have 5 binders, 1 for each color. So I have 6 and 1 for multicolor artifact land. So I tend to buy a little too much. I end up trading in stuff to get more stuff. But I had like 6 decks at one point. I had multiples of so many things that were high value. And I literally went and just brought in all my duplicates, got a bunch of cards I really wanted, and was able to build so many more decks. Now when I go and build a deck, I have these massive library of things I can pull from.
This is the way he's saving his own ass for spending too much on Magic.
Yes.
I didn't spend much money, I just traded in a bunch of cards.
My wife knows. But yeah, so how much is Yawgmoth's Will going for right now, the DCI?
Right now is 2,500.
Okay, so if you want a budget cut, don't play this, play Reanimate. That's like $10. Don't spend that on Yawgmoth's Will. It is an amazing card. You could probably get a cheaper one that's not DCI Judge. Easy replacement, Reanimate. It's also cheaper mana cost too.
Like that one Yawgmoth's Will is more expensive than my entire deck.
Yeah.
You know, my deck's pretty cheap.
I don't even want to know how much mine costs. We're gonna leave that out for now, for the sake of paperwork.
Paperwork harassment.
No, not harassment. Just paperwork. That's what we lovingly call paperwork. Yeah, don't want that. But anyways, so like, yeah, I don't know exactly how much my deck is worth, but if that is 2,500 by itself, then you're looking at easily over $4 grand.
4 or 5 grand.
Yeah, because this Force of Will is 500 as well. So just by those cards alone, that's $3 grand.
Jesus.
It's wait, was it Imperial Seal?
Oh God, no!
Oh no! Yeah.
Oh, you got the foil too.
No, this is the Judge Foil Imperial.
Yeah, that's.
Before it got set in Double Masters, I picked it up, traded a bunch for it. When I saw it got the reprint, man, I was so mad at myself. I was like, what? You mean I could have only spent 200 instead of this and all those cards? No! But I regret nothing. It's beautiful.
I regret nothing.
As I say before the paperwork, I regret nothing. No. Love you, honey. It's fine.
Oh, this is the video that Corlin gets divorced, it seems.
No, just fun, joking playfulness.
Yeah, it is fun, joking playfulness.
But no, that's kind of my tips and tricks is like beginning with the end in mind with your commander, planning ahead, like what's the strategy before you start putting cards together and sleeving them up. Or, you know, like me, have them sleeved up and you go, what's the goal of this deck? How am I going to get there? And also in your command zone, you want to see some kind of card advantage, some kind of mana advantage, or something that puts you ahead of everyone else in some way, shape, or form.
Or something that just makes what you want to do a little bit easier.
Yeah,
and
so...
if you don't have the money to spend a dump, like, you can't dump, like, a crap ton of money on a deck, it's not a big deal. Trying to, like, I find that Kirk the Thumbless and Sacrifice of 1,000 Faces, even if you just pick those two up, there's a lot of synergy in it. There's a lot of interaction you can do with it, even if you don't have to pick up cards and do cards.
Yeah.
I only bought, like, 3 cards. And I think it was, like, a total of, like, $15. And that was, Hormonarch Prodigy, Past in Flames, and Grape Shot. Those are the only cards that I actually bought. I had everything else, and I just pieced it together and went, this will do.
That'll do, donkey. That'll do.
Yep.
And when you're building a deck, you want to consider, if you're playing against the same people over and over and over again, you want to build your deck around what they normally do. You don't just, but if you're playing against different people all the time, you want to build it kind of differently. So like, let's say for example they play a lot of creatures, and you want to go, okay, well then board wipes and creature based stuff is really good, but they don't play a lot of creatures, so then stuff to interact with instants and sorceries like counterspells, removal, it really helps.
And knowing your meta is pretty big.
Yeah.
Knowing the types of decks you're gonna come up against. We play a lot together. And have a lot of people that we play against and go out to tourneys with and just have a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the biggest thing is knowing your meta, but at the same time, you don't want to put so much thought into that when it comes to how you're building your deck. Like, when it comes to, like, watering down your win line and stuff like that. As long as your win lines are intact and you have your ways of doing it.
Yeah.
So, like, interaction is a huge damn thing. I've dedicated literally 22% of my deck to interacting with people.
And again, you don't have to have a Wincon if you're playing. We play together for fun. Like, you don't have to really have a Wincon in your deck if you're playing for fun. And you're just there for shits and giggles. You're just like, holy shit, you just fucking won turn 1? No fucking way. You got 6 life left, you just fucking won. What? I can't attack you unless I pay 6? Holy shit.
I will say this, based off of what you said, most people who went on turn 1 have a good damn Wincon.
Yeah.
If you're saying that, the Wincon, turn 1, fuck it. People who have a Wincon if they're going turn 1, boop. Just saying.
Yeah.
I highly suggest the Wincon because that's your focus. That's what you're building your deck toward. But, like slinging spells with friends, just hanging out. It's the gathering aspect of Magic that we've all come to love.
And we're all dads, and we know how hard it is to get together and do this kind of thing. When me and Cortland were thinking about this, we're just like, it'd be kind of cool. And we're like, well, we don't really have much time to do it. So we're like, you know what? Fuck it. When we do play, we'll film it. And then we dragged Anthony in with us, and Steve with us, and we got Teo with us. And a few other people that like to join us, and they like to play Magic. They go, yeah, I'm free, let's go. Life gets in the way sometimes, and you do it when you can.
Yeah, and we want to officially induct Teo into the Command Dads fam. He's our official paper parent. He doesn't have a kid yet, but we say, if you don't have a kid, it's okay, you're a paper parent. You have your commander, your stack of paper parent. It's all good. So looking forward to seeing him a lot more on the channel as well. He's a great guy. So... and very knowledgeable as well.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So, guys, we've reached the end of our tips and tricks. I hope you've gained a lot from our discussion. We didn't really go into point form into how we were wanting to, but I think in open discussion, you learn a lot from just hearing people talk.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions about what we talked about, or have any questions for us, or about like tips and tricks for deck building, hit us up down below in the comments section. Like and sub to the channel, ring that bell so you get notified. But when everything new's coming out, we're going to be doing a lot more of these kind of things. We're going to be kind of dipping our feet into the water, into this kind of stuff. So any topics you want us to talk about, hit us up in the description below, comment, and say, hey, what about this? Have you thought of this? If you have your own tips and tricks, we would love to hear about that too. Put that down below, and we'd love to hear about it. And who knows, you could maybe even sing a shout out to your own tips and tricks, or if we get a mention in one of our episodes. You never know.
That is true. And if you feel there's a card that you think would be great in one of our decks, comment down below. So you'll be like, hey, maybe this card would be good. Try to get it in there, and it might improve your deck. Go for it. Like, it's fine.
Anthony, any parting words, my friend?
Just to new players, just be patient with your collection. It takes time.
Yet, as all good things take time. Boys, to the first cast.
First cast.
And as a new tradition, we're going to be starting with these casts. Story time.
Story time with dads.
Story time, yeah, because sticking on that theme of Command Dads, we're going to have story time where one of us is going to tell you guys a story. And whoever's up wants to tell a fun little story there.
Oh. Anthony?
Like stories?
Like a fun story.
Any fun stories?
It doesn't. It's not. Probably might be parental advisor on this part because we just kind of let loose on this end here because this is for everyone to let loose, have some fun, something interesting outside the world of Magic.
Oh, we're gonna let loose then. Yeah, let's let loose.
Well, just for stories, I can share my worst experience with my son.
Okay, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So one day I was changing my son's diaper. He had a very stinky poop. So I went to change him. Lifted up his legs, took his diaper down, and he had very, very liquid poo. And it was all over his butt. And I was kind of like wanting to make sure I got every bit of it, so I like kind of kneeled down to go to wipe it, and he let out a big fart, and it shotgun blast all over my face. Like little pellets.
Did you taste it? Please tell me you didn't.
Fortunately,
Fortunately,
my mouth was very tightly closed.
Oh, okay.
emphasis on tightly.
Very tightly, yes.
Good. Okay.
Good lord.
Alright,
Yeah.
A face full of shit.
Yeah, it's not often you go change a kid's diaper and you get a facial.
So I
Said it very true.
finished changing his diaper, and then I set my face on fire.
Yeah, I bet. Rubbing alcohol and everything. Eh? Just,
Oh, super hot water, lots of soap. My eyes are incredibly sensitive to everything, so water and soap are not good. But I got them all over the place.
Oh man.
That's my story.
Even my youngest, when she poops, you can hear it. Sometimes she it's pressured up, and all you hear is, huh? You're like, whoa, what was that?
I think that's just a sound effect. That was sick.
That was a good one.
It's like you could hear it like blast against the diaper,
Oh,
and you know it's gonna be a nasty poop.
Oh man, I don't know what it was, but my daughter started getting into the whole I've gone to the bathroom thing. And I was like, I'm great, you've recognized it, and then she'll just go boop, right into the diaper, starts feeling around in there. I'm like, no! You know how many times I've caught her brown-handed? Like, poo! And I'm like, no! And I go into her room, because she runs away. Every time she does something, she knows she's in shit.
Oh, they always do that.
She gets this devilish smile and goes, hee! And runs. And you're like, what did you do? I walk in, because I literally left her for a minute. She's reading her book. I'm getting dinner ready, being a dad.
Yep.
Come back, and she's just on top of her bed. I'm like, oh no.
Does she just play with it, or does she paint with it too?
She has done a Picasso. she has smeared that thing lovingly across the wall with a little shit stick.
Oh man.
Well, I guess that was story time with the dads.
About our
About shit.
bowel movements of children.
Bowel
Jesus.
movement of children.
You're welcome.
Shotgun poops and paint. Here we go.
Yeah, sorry to my daughter if she ever sees this 10 years from now.
Oh
You
god.
talked about how I played with my poo.
Hey, we didn't mention names, alright?
No, we didn't. They will never know.
No.
They will never know.
Well, thank you for tuning in to Command Dads and seeing our first ever real podcast video, and I hope you enjoy. Like and subscribe and comment down below.
See you guys. Enjoy.